Hello and welcome to my channel, Suit Up English. I am Tom and today we will be talking about some basic prepositions. Okay, so prepositions, very briefly, they are words which govern and usually precede a noun or a pronoun and expressing a relation to another word or element in the clause. For example, the man on the platform. So the three prepositions which we will be looking at today are at, on and in, and we will be looking at how we use these prepositions in terms of placement. So generally we use at for a point, okay, a point or a place. So for example, at the hospital, at the school, okay, so a point of interest. We use in for an enclosed place, okay, so a fantastic example here would be in the garden, an enclosed garden. And on we use for surfaces, okay, so for example, on the table is a surface. On the table. Okay, so before we get started, just one very important piece of information. Please do not try to directly translate prepositions from your original language, because often prepositions are used very differently amongst the different languages. Firstly, we will begin with at. So, if you remember from before, at we use for a point. So here are some examples of when we might use at. Okay. So, at the corner, at the bus stop, at the door, at the top of the page, at the end of the road, at the entrance, at the crossroads, at the front desk. Okay, so now I will give you some example sentences we can use with at. Jane is waiting for you at the bus stop. The shop is at the end of the street. My plane stopped at Dubai. When will you arrive at the office? Okay, so now we will look at the preposition in. Okay, so just as a reminder, we use in for an enclosed place. So some examples are in the garden, in London, in France, in a box, in my pocket, in my wallet, in a building, in a car. And some example sentences using the preposition in. Do you work in an office? I have a meeting in New York. Do you live in Japan? Jupiter is in the solar system. And finally we come to on, which we use for surfaces. So some examples of the preposition on the wall, on the ceiling, on the door, on the cover, on the floor, on the carpet, on the menu, on the page. And some examples of us using on within a sentence. The author's name is on the cover of the book. There are no prices on this menu. You are standing on my foot. There was a no smoking sign on the wall. I live on the 7th floor. Okay, and finally, I'm just going to provide you with some exceptions to the rule. So what I will give you here are some prepositions of place, at, in, and on in these standard expressions, which means they do not change. So the best thing to do for these is to simply memorize. So beginning with at, we have at home, at work, at school, at university, at college, at the top, at the bottom, at the side, at reception. Okay, and then for in, we have in a car, in a taxi, in a helicopter, in a boat, in a lift, in the newspaper, in the sky, in a row, in Oxford Street. And finally we come to on a bus, on a train, on a plane, on a ship, on a bicycle, on a motorbike, on a horse, on an elephant, on the radio, on television, on Netflix, on Facebook, on the left, on the right, on the way. Okay, and finally, we're just going to look at some exceptions to at, in, and on. So, firstly, the word home. Okay, so you can use the preposition at with home if it follows a form of the verb to be. However, it is possible to completely omit, completely remove the preposition when you are using the word home. For example, I'm home. So now we are going to look at the exceptions for words to describe the week. So for example, with phrases such as every day, all day, some days, again, we would completely omit the preposition. So I would say I go swimming every day, not I go swimming at every day or I go swimming on every day. Next, we also omit the preposition when we are talking about dates. For example, we would say, last Tuesday I went to a restaurant. Not on last Tuesday I went to a restaurant or at last Tuesday. Simply last Tuesday. Okay? And finally, our final exception is things such as next year, next month, next week. Again, we would omit the preposition, so we would not say at next week or on next week. Simply next week, next year, next month. Okay, thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed my video today. I hope it was useful for you, or some revision maybe, perhaps. Anyway, I'd really appreciate it if you could give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thank you very much, and expect another video very soon. Cheers.